welcome to a new episode of the Advancing Consciousness series with Franco Di Nicola. This is a place where people can come to gain further insight and clarity as to what is going on and how we can shift things on a personal and global level, while also accessing higher levels of consciousness and awareness. We bring this series to you free of charge so that many are able to access this information. And if you resonate with what Franco shares and you would like to support his work, contributions are welcomed and greatly appreciated. A link is in the description and will be provided in the chat if you feel guided to do so. Also, we have many previous workshops, such as the most recent, Actualizing Beyond Your Current State to Live Your New Reality, along with our membership program, Let's Talk About You, where like-minded people come together bi-weekly to talk about the topics requiring deeper understanding and clarity. All of these are available on Teachable, and we encourage you to check them out as they are great resources at very affordable prices to assist in better understanding this human experience. The Teachable link will also be provided in the chat and description. And lastly, don't forget to share. As more of us are coming together and creating a shift in oneself, the more effective it will be to shift things globally. Thank you for joining us and being part of this change. Enjoy today's broadcast.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the Advancing Consciousness series. This is the series that's catered to assist you in expanding and growing in a powerful way, more than you ever imagined, because you're the one that is navigating every part of it. So welcome today to episode 82. And today we get to play by being rock solid, or at least the importance of being rock solid in yourself, what we can call grounding. And I know a lot of us have been talking about grounding and so forth, grounding to Gaia, grounding with nature, grounding with others, and grounding with the animal kingdoms and so forth. But now it's more important than ever to ground with yourself. And what self are we talking about? Are we talking about the self that we've been experiencing up to this point in time, which is full of thoughts, emotions and energies and programs and belief systems? Or are we talking about a self that is rock solid within ourselves, which is basically the core essence of who we are, the spirit of the creator, source, or whatever you want to call it? And the thing is, because we are this unique being that carries a very specific frequency and encodement, we are here to be that expression in a powerful, clear way. And that is the grounding we're talking about. Grounding the part of us that is rock solid, is not governed by emotions, is not governed by programs, is not governed by whatever is around us. It has nothing to do with that, because it's not about what's around us or what we've taken on as an idea of who we are, but it's about that expression of that core essence of you, who you are from the very core part of you. And that's what we're going to play with today. So I thank everybody for coming together. We are starting about an hour later due to a few things that we needed to sort out. So we had intended to start at 4, then moved it to 4:30 and realized that 5 o'clock would be the only possible opportunity. Of course, we had a little bit of a glitch with the internet, but I think we seem to be solid now. So if you see anything dropping or anything of that nature, just hang tight. And if you have to refresh, that's great. But we are going to push through, because this is your creation for today. And right now, with everything that's playing out all around us, we are seeing and noticing so much going on in a way where it seems very chaotic, very unstable, and it's almost like totally unreal, while we're looking and connecting with ourselves much more powerfully. And now it was so important in today's topic, or this episode, to be rock solid with self, because that's the only way we're going to be able to navigate and do some amazing things for exactly what you came here to do today. And this whole live stream. Okay, so let's get started. Let's do this. And here we go. Trying a new program today, so we'll see how that looks. So I'm going to move this over so we don't end up having a line in between. Perfect. Great. So let's do my little scribble board so that I can make a mess like Kimberly likes to see me and laugh about it. All right. So the first thing we're looking at, the importance. Why is it so important? Well, the importance is now, even though it has been for a while, but the importance has been because of what is taking place right now. Everything around us is moving and shaping and has no stability, which is absolutely amazing in so many ways, because that indicates transformation, indicates the old world fading as we are bringing in the new world, where we're dropping our old version and bringing in our new version. So it's really important right now, especially with the way things are shaping up for the next while. And I will get into the depth of that as we are rolling through today's episode. So what does it mean being rock solid? That means you're not flinching, you're not being governed by whatever's going on. You're basically, your foundation is rock solid. Your foundation, you can build your house on sand, you can build your house on things that are not solid, but when you're building something on rock, it is solid. And that is the thing, is you are solid because you are the very essence of all existence. You are that massive, powerful creator that has created yourself and is observing of all creation, but also holds a very specific space in how you unfold and experience reality and this world. And you are here because you are part of the transformation of the human experience and the transformation of our world, which is our playground. And this playground is primed for all of that, and this is why it's going through all of that. But it's going through us. We are the ones that are flowing what we see in our playground. Gaia, the organic matrix, is of service to us. It is not serving us, it is of service to us. So as we are, in one way or another, unpacking this new world, it is reflecting it and aiding us to experience it, because it is another aspect of ourselves. So as much as everyone on the planet is an aspect of us, so is Gaia, and everything on Gaia, everything in our solar system, every planet, every being that in our solar system, our galaxy and universe. So self-grounding, as I was saying, self-grounding is grounding to that core essence, that immortal, infinite being that you are, source, the field of all existence in your own unique frequency, your own unique signature, your own unique construct of expression. You are that, and that's what you're grounding to. You're not grounding to any longer to what is outside of us, because what's outside of us is an expression from a collective perspective, and it has played a role in a certain way where it reflected a very inverted world, which we are, of course, been purging out. Even though all the projections are no longer there, we are purging it out of ourselves. So that's what it is. So it has become very important, especially in the next while, and we were going to look at that. So the importance, we're looking at the importance and the method of staying rock solid in self-grounding as we continue to move forward, specifically the next 18 months. We have so much we want to accomplish and do within ourselves, with ourselves, and our playground in the next 18 months. We are in the process of purging out all invertedness. Inverted matrix is gone, but the projection that is what we are loading up into the organic that is reflecting us, but also purging all older versions of ourselves, all of that inverted self. And in this case, inverted 3D and 2D. I know we've talked about it before where, we're going from 3D to 5D and all of that stuff. Really, what we're doing is going from the inverted world, the inverted 3D, inverted 2D, and in some cases 1D, to what we call organic 3D and organic 5D. So the next 18 months, our full intent of everybody on the planet, regardless what role you're going to take, if you're playing the role as an extra, if you're playing a role as a very active, bringing it to a certain level before choosing to do something else or to not participate fully, or you are participating fully. It doesn't matter which role you're going to be playing and how far you're going to push it and how far you're going to evolve. But at this point in time, in the next 18 months, the intent, fully and completely, is to completely remove every aspect of our older self and all of that invertedness from ourselves so that we are, before the entry of 2023, to be very crystal clear in our trajectory of organic 3D and organic 5D, where both are in its natural state, where we get to experiment, experience ourselves in our holistic true essence before merging completely into the organic 5D. And that's what we're doing. So the next 18 months is really the kind of the final stretch to wrap up and clear up as much as possible. That will also involve deactivating our ego system that has been designed and programmed to work in that inverted world. The story maker, the taking of all of our experiencing and labeling it, defining it, and so forth. As part of all of that, we are going to be letting go of all of our older ways of life, everything that we've held on to and attached to. And when I say let it go, we let it flow, we let it change, transform, or whatever is required without trying to hold on to it to be in the way that it used to be. That's what we're talking about. It's no longer holding it into the old form, the old construct that we have utilized up to this point in time. And this is the thing, the process has started quite some time ago and it just keeps speeding up. So the next 18 months can be very colorful, much more intensive, but at the same time it's refining us, illuminating us, and it's forcing us in a way, which we are forcing ourselves really, to get and access that clear aspect of ourselves. So some people would like to say, well, the next 18 months is going to be chaotic. Yes, it can seem that way. Yes, it can seem like everything is falling apart. But really, what's happening? It is just basically purging, dissolving, deconstructing, and while we are constructing something brand new. And why are we doing that? Because we're ready for it, because we want to unpack it. Not because the old world was bad, the old world was negative. Yes, it represented something of that nature. Yes, it represented a lower consciousness. But in that lower consciousness, there was experiential enrichment, and it gave us the opportunity to be able to experience things that you wouldn't have not been able to experience without it. That's the beauty of it. We can never look at anything that we've experienced, our journey from birth till now. We look at our journey for the last 10,000 years, which our body's been involved, Gaia has been involved, our human entity has been involved. And some of us have had our multidimensional involved at different times and stages. Possibly never, but some cases many times. And all that involvement, there was nothing wrong with any of that because we've agreed to accept it and to extend it for that period of time to give us an opportunity to kind of have something very unique while being such powerful beings. But now, of course, we're saying, okay, we're done with that. It's no longer of service, so that's why we're letting all of that go. No other reason. It's not, this whole focus of good, bad, right, wrong, the evil ones, the whatever you want to call it, the victimizers and versus the victims and so forth. We are not victims. We've never been victims. We have played the role of a victim, playing the role knowing that we are not in charge, or adopting the idea that we're not in charge and that others have charge over us or has the capacity to do so, when in true understanding, we basically at that point in time, at any point in time, agree to have various experiences to reach certain levels of empowerment or self-empowerment, as we like to call it. And that's what's happened. So as things continue to unfold and the old game becomes more and more unstable, and that's what's happening, we're already seeing it. We're seeing it on so many levels that the old world is unstable. And yes, even the introduction of all these craziness and so forth may make it look even more unstable. But at the same time, understanding that all of this, the way it's playing out right now, that unstableness is what is necessary for us to do the transition that we're choosing to do. Now, with all that instability, it will be very easy to get wrapped up in the old world game and lose our internal navigation. How many of us forget about navigating through life and put a lot of power into what? The external world, what it's reflecting. But you have to understand what is reflected in the world is a collective projection as we're going through the completion process, as we're going through the purging process. So for us to unpack a new world, to unpack that essence of ourselves, we can't use that. And yes, when we see chaos, we're going to feel like at some points that it actually ends up running us and we get lost in the old game. Kimberly, can we see that properly? I guess I made...
Really small, actually.
Yeah, I'm apologize. I apologize for...
Font is really small. Can you make it bigger?
Well, that's the problem. Is I tried a new...
Don't put any purple around it.
I tried another program. I will get it refined next time. Okay, I'll do that. Okay. It's I think I made the font a little too small. Anyways. This is a different software program that I was trying out because that way it gives me the widescreen and I don't get the black marks on the side. But anyways, let's carry on. So as it becomes unstable and we get easily wrapped up in the old world, we lose our internal navigating system, our purpose, the direction we want to go. And this is why we put a lot of time and focus on creating that new world within yourself, using your imagination, your creativity, not to look at the world and say, okay, how do I build around this? No, you say, okay, this is how the game is. This is how everything is displayed right now. But how do I choose? How do I feel from the very core of myself as a way of life? As a way of experiencing myself in that, but also seeing all of us playing together. So yes, it can be very easy, especially when things seem to be a little bit more chaotic, and especially when the ego is still very active, especially when we have all of these old programs, ideas, perceptions, concepts, and so forth that we have within ourselves. Plus, we also have patterns and automatic defaults and emotional charges. All of those things are still active, which we're all purging out anyways. But, you know, it's a process that we're going through. It can easily get caught up on the waves. It's like a wave coming through and we're getting picked up by the wave and going for the ride. And a lot of times we don't have our surfboard, because if we have our surfboard, then we can ride the waves, but we're still navigating the waves. And that's really what you want to do, is you want to navigate the waves. It's not about getting knocked down or being completely subject by the waves, being the waves creating your experience. So our internal navigation system becomes super important for us to use within ourselves. And what does that mean? Is connecting with ourselves and using, like I said, the creativity, imagination, but tapping into that source essence, which is the field in expression, which is sourceness as an expression within your unique frequency. And so when you're connecting with that self, going into that quiet, which is quieting the mind, the ego programming that's active with a lot of jargon and stories and so forth, and getting that solid knowing within yourself and knowing that you are the designer, navigator, and so forth. And then you go into navigation mode. And that navigation is, what do I feel very core to express and experience around me? And as you start doing that, your reality starts to shift. Your immediate internal reality starts to shift, like how you're experiencing yourself in the body and so forth, but also your immediate reality in your playground, your home, or whatever it is, and also the realities that are being expressed by other playmates that you have in your life. And could be work, could be family dynamics, could be friendships, can be communities, and so forth. All of that starts to shift as you are shifting. So, we are entering another phase, and that's what we're going through. We've been going phase after phase after phase, and each phase upgrades. Each phase is very supportive for us because the phases that we are bringing in are phases best tuned for where we are stepping into next. So this next phase that we're coming in is also coming with packages of very powerful energies. Energies that are coming in, yes, from our galactic, yes, from our sun, but also from Gaia. Right now, Gaia is assisting us even further by creating even further bursts, further encodements, further expressions through us. Because we are in a physical form, an expression of Gaia, even though we have many other DNA strands and genetics that are added on top of that, which is also coming on board more and more, and also streaming on that. But Gaia is also assisting us. What is it doing? It's birthing through us. We are birthing a new version of ourselves, a higher version of ourselves, a purer version. So, like some people call it, going through a purification process. That purification is really bringing in the purest form of you, the truest essence of you in your highest vibration and expression, as we're letting go of all those older versions of yourself as you go along. So we are entering another phase, and we are intending to make even more progress, and that's the whole intent. Saying, okay, well, the next 18 months we're going to make a massive amount of progress, and we're going to put them in chunks of 3 months at a time and certain phases. So now we're looking at July and August, and we're preparing ourselves to other phases that we're bringing in, sub-phases within September, October, and so forth, and as we move along. So the frequencies are increasing, the codes and downloads are increasing, we're becoming more active, we're becoming more online, we're becoming more clear in our realization of how we create and how it's all within our own capacities within ourselves. And that's what we are seeing now as we're entering in these new phases as we continue to move forward. So, while at the same time, we have to keep in mind that the news media and the governing bodies will attempt to shape things even more around the old world agenda. So it's going to look like they're presenting us, throwing at us all of these ideas of how things are done. In fact, creating still the illusion that they have the power over us, that in what they say is the way it goes, that in some way we have no say, that we have to follow these rules, we have to follow this way of life. But the thing is, they're using fear as a way to kind of shape us to stay within that illusionary projection of stability, illusionary projection of that old world. And that's the beauty of it, because the more they project it, the more it becomes non-resonance for you. It becomes more of a dissonance for you, and you're now noticing that you do not align with it. So that you are now shifting more into your essence of yourself and using that as your navigational system. So as much as they're trying to put in and push the old world agenda, which a lot of people have talked about at this point in time, we know that, hey, the agenda is whatever it is, but unless we choose as a collective to be able to empower that and to take it on, because we're the only creators, okay? It doesn't matter these other so-called fictional or projected or self-acclaimed authorities and control structures and so forth using the monetary system or any other system at this point and saying, hey, we are the ones that tell you how to live your life. We are the creators. But in fact, they can't do that. The lower your vibration, the older of the, or the more focus of the old world that you have, the less power you have, because all of it is shifted to you in your higher state. Unless you project it and say, I accept it and I now reinforce that old world, it's not possible. And it's pushing us to go into that state. That's why more and more people are making different choices. More and more people are not buying into it. Yeah, you can swing back and forth temporarily here and there, but we are more and more getting empowered. Now, a lot of them that are playing that, getting lost in the game, are there to only empower us that have chosen to take an active role to create that. And then at some point they can shift, or they can choose no longer to participate and no longer be part of this journey with us. So as much as they are, bringing around more of the old world agenda, the new world is within you that is being unpacked. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing it in a very powerful way, but we're seeing it first within ourselves, and we're seeing it through the layer of the world that we are looking at. So a possible extended projection, because there's going to be attempts to project an extended of shortages, that we may not have enough, or that, blocking off certain resources, could be food, could be whatever. But that's an extended projection of shortages that will be seen quite differently within the two worlds, because we have two worlds. In one world, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more deeper, but the thing is, it's a projection, and that is what some people are grabbing into and go, oh my God, we have to go and do this and that, whatever it is. But it is only an extended projection, that we are the only ones that are going to make it real or not. This is the beauty of it. Many of us think that the outside world actually shapes us. We are shaping the outside world. The thing is, we can be suggested how to shape it. We can be projected an idea of how to shape it, but that is entirely up to us how we do it. So one will see it as part of progress, of the process. One will be seeing it as part of the process and say, hey, that's the process. They're going to project it, but we are going to see it a completely different way. We are going to transmute every part of it so that we do not have to play at that same level. And the others will react and even panic and go into a panic mode. That's an option that you all have, but it's up to you what choice you're going to make. But the more you connect with yourself, you will notice to see it as what it is, a process. Hey, great, process. Things are moving, things are shaping up, and it's pushing us to use more of our capacities because of that illusion that we're putting in. So, we are already noticing that things are seeming more and more out of control and nonsensical. Do you see how things are very unstable? It seems like we're losing control. Yes, there is some people in control, or at least the illusionary part, but look at what's happening. All the cracks that are happening, all the exposures that are happening. What are those exposures? To show them that they're playing that role? Yes, but at the same time, is it to see them as evil? No, to show that they are playing that role. And also the nonsensical, meaning that there's not even logic from any sort or common sense in anything. It's showing polarities, it's showing instabilities, it's saying one thing, then another thing, and it doesn't even make any sense. And a sense of saying, hey, yeah, I could see that going that way, but the nonsensical part and the out of control is exactly for us. What does that mean? For us to see what? To see beyond the veil. Because that old world is just a projection. It's a veil. because the real world is beyond that, and it is beyond that veil that we've been looking at. So the thing is, if we're going to, be short-sighted, and that's what a lot of people do, short-sighted, and looking at, okay, this is what we have, this is all we got to play with, or you're going to look forward to that and say, hey, I see that world because I am already building it, I'm already shaping it, I already feel it, I already breathe it, I already flow with it. And this is just the thing that is showing up so that I can just dissolve it as I move through it. And each one of us can dissolve it to the degree we're ready to dissolve it. It's not depending on one another, thinking that we have to hold it for whoever or whatever. But it's not the way it works in that fashion. It's really us seeing beyond it. And we are either putting our focus on the veil or the old movie, or we're seeing the new movie that we are already been building and shaping for some time. So it's becoming more apparent that two worlds in movies are playing out. We're seeing it. We're experiencing it. There's the old world that is dissolving, and we see it. That's the old way. That's the world that we've been seeing for a very long time. And then there's this new world. This new world sees things very differently. This new world is not concerned what's going on. This new world is saying, hey, we're creating this new world. This new world is a world of harmony, balance, equality, flourishing. It doesn't have any fear, it doesn't have survival, it doesn't have polarity or anything of that nature. It could play in a little bit or dabble in a little bit of polarity, but it doesn't drive them in any way, shape, or form, because we're not governed by it any longer, because that's the choice we've made, and that's the beauty of it. So we're going to see the two worlds, and what the thing is, we can switch back and forth, and that's what a lot of us are doing right now. We're switching from one to the other. Sometimes we're playing the old world and getting lost in all the mandates and all of these restrictions and so forth, and other times you see right through it. We have no interest in it. We're expressing and experiencing it ourselves. And you will notice that the two worlds will interact with you very differently. One will be heavier and more imposing. The other one will be more fluid. And they don't, even though they are overlaying in a way, you don't see one. You focus on the new one only. The old one does not present itself in the same fashion. That's the beauty of it. And this is what the thing. So we're looking at the old world, and you're seeing half of your family, or most of your family in some cases, or friends and so forth, are playing in the old world and getting lost in the game and the mandates and all of this stuff. And you are shifting and have been playing in this world that does not give any power to that, and realizes, knows in the very core that none of that has to have any power over us. Yeah, we can play some of the game, but we could play it on your terms as you're dissolving all of that. And that's the beauty of it, because there's so much more that's going on than what we see from the old way of seeing through our eyes. So it's becoming more apparent, and many of us have been experiencing both of them. Not only apparent, it's experiencing it and seeing ourselves. If you get triggered a certain way, you can feel the heaviness. You can get lost in the game. You can get lost in the fear. You can get lost in the loss of control, or feeling that in some way that you're disempowered, or that you're a victim. And then in an altered state, or in a state where you're in a higher vibration, you're also seeing that in that point, that's just a game. You're not even interested in any of that, because you're not going to give it any power. That's the beauty of it. And that's what we're looking at. It's not about depending on the old way of doing things or grabbing on things to survive, when really we are to shape things and flourish. A lot of people, when they see change happening, unstable, our system becomes unstable, and that's what's happening. It's not, the way that we have been holding on to it, even though it's been uncomfortable and maybe not so appealing, that we've been looking at that as a reference point. And now that is cracking and shifting and being unstable, we're trying to grab. That means we got to make sure we have all these provisions that in one way or another, that somehow we have to be in survival mode. We have to protect ourselves. We have to make sure we have everything for ourselves. And that is creating a dependency on the old way of doing and grabbing on things to survive. That's not our true nature, this whole survival thing. That is the old world. That is in the inverted world, the inverted 3D, 2D, which, yes, we still see around us because we're purging it through us at this point in time. And even though it's all breaking down, survival was something we were conditioned and programmed to accept as a way of life. You never had that in your entry point. Definitely not in your multidimensional aspect of yourself, even in your pure form without carrying any of the streamed stuff from your, what you call your human entity or even your body has put that. But then we got conditioned and programmed to give power to this idea of survival because we are here to shape things and flourish. What is flourishing? Flourishing is freedom. Flourishing is creation in action. So you create and you experience with flow. You create brand new experiences and so forth, and you flourish. You're not limiting yourself in survival. You're not limiting yourself in lack or the idea that, we have to hold on to be able to make it. You don't put into that. If you're in survival mode, and you're holding on to dear life, and you're holding on to the old world, how do you experience life? How do you get to live life? People that hold on to life, the old way of life that we have accepted as a way of life, don't get to live much of life. Don't even get to shape their life. They try to fit into the tracks or the streams of patterns of life that others have experienced themselves. If you're looking at it, well, I got to hang on to the old money system, the old educational system, the old medical system, the old governing systems, the old, policing and all of that stuff, then we're in survival. That's what we're in. And survival pushes another thing. Survival pushes what? Pushes also that old world of ourselves, which is basically living small, living in a box. And you do not access, let's call it that, access the grander aspect of who you truly are. You don't bring your sourceness, your creativity, your imagination in its true form. You just bring in a limited version. On our birth, we came in with an open platform. Yes, we may have had some restrictions that we've collected through our lineage and through the birthing process or being in your mother's womb and whatever else that has been projected, but you were still quite open at the start. But as you continue to live life, as you continue to be conditioned, programmed beliefs and adopted belief systems and ways of life, what we call educated and programmed and so forth through media, educational system and so forth, we played smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And then we put a lot of emphasis on the survival part and not on the flourishing. In fact, flourishing was foreign to us now, or much longer, much along the way in our lives. But look at a lot of the kids right now. They have no interest in survival. They would love to flourish. Yeah, okay, they're still dealing with programs and so forth, but a lot of them are coming in already prepared to really create this beautiful world and to play with it without giving all this power into the survival part, because the survival doesn't make any sense to them. It doesn't make sense because they have more access of who you know. Now, if you connect with yourself, and I've shared this process before, where you can close your eyes or spend a couple of minutes in the quiet, calling in yourself. I now call in a full embodiment, or I call in my soul to fully embody right now, to activate my highest home frequency that is being shared and brought forth through my multidimensional soul. I also activate my purest, highest source essence of who I am. I embody pure love and also bring in the highest innate consciousness of your body and your human entity. Then you will notice that survival is an illusionary projection that you cannot give any power, because at that point you feel yourself as source, as essence, as infinite, as immortal, that you go through this and you see yourself as a playmate, you see yourself as a creator and your own creation and the observer of all creations. You see all of that, you feel it, you breathe it. It's not outside of you, because why? All of that is truly your essence. So by just doing that process, that's what you're doing. Now, you have to understand that there are two main collectives operating at this time. One moving forward, and the other one is stuck, stagnant, and involving the old world. So when we're connecting to the collective, there are two collectives. There's the collective of the people that have chosen and made the agreement to move forward and are doing everything possible within themselves to purge every part of the old world, bring the new world, bring their truest essence within themselves. And there's a collective of that. And that is growing every single day exponentially. That is growing, becoming more and more as a powerhouse as it's coming along. The one that is stuck and stagnant and involved in the old world is getting weaker and weaker and weaker and losing more of its grip. This is why you're seeing the changes that are going on. And a lot of times you're saying, well, it's the control structure. Well, the control structure is part of that. The ego is part of that. The ego loves the stuck, stagnant, and old world version of it. Absolutely, because that's where it flourishes. Now, the part that you want to understand and bring into your own consciousness, which you already know within, I'm just triggering your memory, is that the collective that is moving forward, expanding, bringing in higher vibrational states, dissolving polarity, dissolving that old world, is extensively more powerful than the old collective. The only reason the old collective still looks like it still has some power over us is because the old collective has kind of established a groove which is dissolving. So it's like we've played that for so long, it almost like, yeah, we can easily fall into that. So that collective is still projecting it. And then you have to understand, all of our systems, all of our organizations, groups, companies, you name it, governmental and all, are still very much in the old one. So it's basically the old, stagnant old world. So there's still a tremendous amount of that in place, and that's why that's all breaking down. But the thing is, the people that are involved in bringing and unpacking this new part of it is moving forward and is very, very progressive, is so much more powerful than ever before. This is why we're seeing the changes. This is why we're seeing a lot more going on. And like I said, exponentially, because more and more people are coming online with that. And you can see a lot of people that had no interest whatsoever. And I've been observing it for the last 63 years. And as I've been observing it, I've noticed the progress and how many more are coming on board throughout the whole planet at this point in time onto this higher state of being. So the moving forward version of ourselves are really kicking in a big way. So now let's take a look. Here are some of the key points in navigating the next while. So what are some of these key points? What can we use for us to be able to navigate much more powerfully? To be able to really be in the driver's seat? Because, yeah, it's going to be colorful. It has been. Look at the last year and a half, the last 18 months. The world has flipped a few times over. Does that make any sense?
Yes, honey.
Absolutely. And the thing is, 2020 was another phase that we came in. And 2020 has been an interesting ride. Something that we've never really experienced before at such a mass scale worldwide. Yes, we've had different versions of it at different countries and so forth, and moving targets and all of this stuff. But look at what's happened in 2020. Look at what's happened in 2021 so far, the first 6 months that we just completed. Look at what's happened there. So there's your 18 months of something very powerful. We're now on the second phase of those another 18 months, which is the 3-year span that we wanted to make massive progress. And guess what? We're now turbocharging as we move forward. I know we started the turbocharging in the beginning of 2021, but we're actually ramping it up even further, the second part of it. So meaning the next 6 months, and then after that, even going to the next level of turbocharging in the following year of 2022, because we are preparing ourselves to be able to stage something very powerful in 2023, because we are heading with the full intent to dissolve all of that invertedness from within ourselves and our collective. Now, some of it will still show up here and there, but it's going to be very, very weak in its capacity. But if our full intent goes into full flourishing, expression, and so forth, none of it will exist. So what are some of the key points? See it as a game and play. This is so profound for us to see what we are experiencing, what's around us as a game, and to play with it. Because the moment we say it's real, the moment we see it that it has power over us because we've adopted that idea, then it's going to make it feel heavy. It's going to be able to show up as rigid and very hard moving, and it becomes, what can I say, overwhelming for us. But the truth is, and that's the realization that you're having more and more as you're going along, that it is just a game. And you're here to play. As weird as that sounds, you're here to play. Planet Earth is a playground. Every single planet is a playground, tuned very differently, with a different form of way of play, but they're all playgrounds. What do you do in playgrounds? You play. What do you do in playgrounds? You use your imagination, your creativity, and you experience yourself on these playgrounds. And the playground comes very well equipped with a physical form, or in this case, a holographic, what looks like a physical form, as a vehicle to play. And look at it, how much fun you can have. If you remind yourself, this is a game and I'm here to play. And what do you do when you're playing a game? You play all out. You're not going to be fearful. You're not going to be restrictive. You're not going to say, oh, okay, the game is rigged and I can only play this much. You come to the realization that the game is hugely dependent on how you play it. It has rules, but the rules are transparent. They're flexible because you're the ones that actually apply the rules to it. So by seeing everything as a game, then you're not getting caught up in seriousness. You're not getting caught up in the density. You're not getting caught up in the victim state or the disempowered state or the survival state. Because when you're playing the game fully, you're flourishing. You're using the opportunity to express and experience yourself in a very powerful way. You're not limiting yourself in any way, shape, or form. That's the beauty of it. And that's what you're doing. So as long as you see it as a game and you activate your capacities to play, you can have a lot of fun in all of this, especially now. Right now, the more you see it as a game, more you play, the more you move through the beautiful dance as you're reshaping every part of you. And remember, you are a playmate. Everybody is a playmate. Don't see them as someone that's there to take advantage of you, kill you, or anything of that nature. Yes, you can experience it that way, but is it really the case? No. They're playmates. And remember, these playmates play with you to the degree that you instruct them to play. They're not going to play outside of that realm. They're there to play to assist you as you assist them. And they're a playmate, but they're another version of you. That's the beauty of it. So you're playing together. You're both advancing. Now, some of your playmates is more focused in assisting you rather than being assisted, even though they still gain from it. Some of the playmates are basically of service to you more than the other way around. So what ends up happening is that they're going to play whatever role you request of them from a higher, or what we call a super conscious self of yourself. It's not going to be what you consider through your ego conscious state. It's coming from a super conscious to aid you in a way where you blossom and expand and become a powerful being. And that's what you're doing. You're reactivating that part of you. What's the other one? Focus on flourishing, not on survival. When you see this whole program triggering survival, you go, oh, okay, yeah, I see it. But what do I choose to do now? I want to focus on flourish. How can I flourish with this opportunity? How can I flourish in being that expression of myself? How can I create an environment that serves me, that does not involve survival, that does not involve lack, that does not involve in any of those older ways of life? I choose to flourish. I choose to express. I choose to experience. I choose to access more of that creativity, imagination, and create something very powerful for myself. That's what I'm choosing to do. And that is what you choose to do by focusing. So you shift your focus on flourishing rather than survival. And I know survival has been ingrained. It's been programmed in, but that's breaking up. Many of us already threw that out the window a long time ago, put it back into the field. And then as long as it goes into the field, it's no longer in its regular form. It just becomes pure potential, pure source, pure essence, full spectrum. It doesn't actually hold its place as that. So we would have to recreate it once you put it into the field, and someone else that comes along can't just pull it out of the field. They're going to somehow, some way, be able to create their own version of it if they choose to do so. And some of us love to do that for a little while. But it's not about survival. So it's shifting from survival. So anytime, like I said, it triggers for you, oh man, what do we do for survival? No. Let's use our creativity. Let's create an environment of flourishing, an environment of freedom, an environment of play. The other thing is, let the projected craziness play without your involvement. What does that mean? Let everything just play out. No problem. You don't have to get involved. You don't have to dive in. You don't have to fix it. Because when you're doing that, you're getting involved. You're lowering your vibration. You're going into that playground. Let the craziness go. Because let the craziness play out for whoever wants to put their focus on that. And when you do that, whoever wants to relish in it, dive in it, swim in it, they can. But you don't have to. You have that knowledge. You have that freedom. You have that capacity now more than ever. We all do. No, it's not a fact that some do and some don't. We all do. But now you're consciously aware that you no longer have to be involved. There's no more involvement required. So if you want to mandate, restrict, do whatever, Go for it. Have fun. But I'm not playing. I'm not complying. I'm not going into the dive. I'm not going to go into polarity and say, oh, look at those evil things. Look at that. That's all wrong and so forth. And I go, no, let everybody play whatever you play. But I'm going to see it, experience it, and project what I see as my true essence. At that point in time, you're basically unpacking that new world. And that new world, like I said, is much more powerful than the old one. So the moment you're not involved in the old, the new one is what you're projecting, and it's dissolving the old. Stay focused. We get thrown all over the place because we are not focused. What are we focusing? We're focusing on flourishing. We're focusing on playing. We're focusing on our creativity, but we're focusing on ourselves. And grounded to self, grounding to that essence within you, the very core essence of your existence, the very core essence of all creation that is within you, in your particular frequency, because you are coded to that frequency so that you can experience the game the way you choose to. But the thing is, you're creating and governing the vibration of what you create. So staying focused. So if you see yourself losing your own navigation and getting lost of it, remind yourself, okay, it's time to get focused on myself. How do I see the world? Now, if you're seeing the world in polarity, good, bad, right, wrong, that's ego. That is an old software, an old program that's coming up. But when you see it as, great, I see myself creating this world, seeing it, and everything is perfect no matter what it is, but the perfection is shifting because we are shifting. So all of the stuff that no longer serves is just dissolving. And we're letting it flow by flourishing, playing, and seeing it from that form rather than getting caught up into it. Because the only way the old world can live in you is you're grabbing on it and holding on it for dear life, or giving it realism, giving it power, giving it the power over you. But you're giving it. That's the thing. That's the beauty of it. It cannot come from outside of it because you're the only one that can give it. Keep in mind that you are in charge of how things play out. As much as we like to think that others have power over us, or that if I have this exposure, that it's going to do this for me, and I have no control, is not true. We bought into the idea when we were wanting to play and experience that version of ourselves. But in our true state, we are in charge. So you could be exposed to something, but we're in charge how it's going to play out, how it's going to unfold, what impact it's going to have, how you choose to experience it, and what is it going to play out along the way as an outcome or anything of that nature. But you have the freedom to change it all the time, anytime. That's the beauty of it. So if you're looking at all of it, you're reminded, I'm in charge. I know a lot of people say we're not, or have bought into the idea, but you know inside that you are. You say, well, I'm exposed to all of this environmental stuff. What say do I have in the matter? Hey, the environmental stuff exists only because you exist. You're the one that's seeing it. You're the one that's shaping it. Yes, we've been conditioned and programmed to shape it a certain way, but it's not the way it is because we can shape it. So that's the thing is you say, well, I have the choice. How do I really want to experience it? Do I want to experience it this way or that way? Really? It's up to you. So keep that in mind because that's going to be very instrumental for you. That I am in charge, or meaning you, on how things play out. Where's it going to go? How am I going to interact with people? How are they going to respond to me? What is my experience going to be? You're in charge of it. You know that you are. And that's all you're doing. Is that correct, Kimberly?
Yes.
Am I giving bum steer here?
No, you're giving some good info.
Good info. Okay. So we are actually in charge. Woo! Can we really handle that? So, you are your own guidance system. Keeping that in mind, your own guidance system. If you're connecting with yourself, if you're using your true navigational system, we have two types of feeling. We have emotions that represent a feeling, and a feeling of knowing this feels in alignment and this does not. That feeling is not polarized. That feeling is not going to give you ickiness. It's just going to show you, that doesn't resonate for me. It's not of interest to me. It doesn't feel in alignment with me. That's cool. But this does, for now, because that can change. Because we're no longer rigid on one path or another. We're creating only momentary paths. So we're changing all the time. So you go through a true feeling of your own navigation system. This is why we have that navigation system that we feel. Not only what we know coming into our consciousness, but it's also what we feel in our heart, in our gut, and feeling even in our body. But as long as it's not polarized, because if it is polarized and there is a fear or something of that nature, then guess what? That part of it is what we call emotions. That's the part of the feeling of feeling fear, feeling this or feeling that, which is kind of still part of the human experience to a certain degree, but that's only to enhance the experience. It's not to govern us at this point in time. So you are your own guidance system. To keep that in mind, that is a powerful reminder to yourself. I am my own guidance system. No one has to tell me how to do it. Now, how many of us, right from young, hey, I want to make my own choices. I want to navigate my own life. I want to do whatever I want to do. And then people are telling you what to do. Until you finally say, okay, I better listen because there's this idea. And that's only a temporary experience. Sometimes temporary could have been 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years. But at this point in time, you realize that, hey, wait a minute. I don't have to do that. Yeah, I always had the option. Yes, I bought into it. Yes, I chose to give it power. Yes, I chose to have the experience that came with that. But now I don't have to. Not because it's good or bad. It's because I'm ready to do it something different. That's it. Accessing the power within. Accessing the power within. What does that mean? Power, power. Oh, yes. We are the creator. And what do? We create. We create ourselves. We create our realities. We create extended realities. We communicate, experience ourselves within our reality. We become more advanced. We become more enlightened. We become a grander aspect of ourselves. Our bodies evolve, expand, grow. Our human entity expands, grows. Our multidimensional expands, grows. Our very essence of sourceness, creator that we are, expands, grows. All of it together. So what do? We're accessing that power. The power from within to navigate, to design, to really shape every part of your reality. I know the ego mind's going to say, that's not true, or that's difficult, or I haven't earned it, or I'm not doing it right, or anything of that nature. Those are just distractions that are being projected. But in true, say, okay, I want to access my own power. Now, of course, you have to understand. A lot of us get caught up in the idea that power means I'm going to have all this stuff and I'm going to do that. True power doesn't need stuff. But yeah, you can plug in anything you choose to have, but it doesn't reflect the old world. I need to have stuff. I need to have security. I have to have, certain individuals in my life or anything of that nature. But that true power within flows with everything, plugs in whatever, is not attached to anything, has no conditions, no expectations, but just plays and designs and experiences and grows and continues to flow. And being in the moment basically means that you are fully present in all of your creations as you expand your creation, as you create new and expand further and have other things that no longer serve are automatically discreated. That's all that's going on. The other part of it is connecting with a tribe. What does that mean? we become a tribe. We start to play those drums and dance around fires and live in teepees. No? 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 Geez, I thought that was what it was. Well, what is a tribe? A tribe is basically connecting with other like-minded people, like people online right now, like other people that are creating different groups and so forth. But always be attentive to the groups as you evolve, and you may move from one group to another, whatever it is. But you're connecting with other like-minded people. What does that do for us? It assists us in a way to support and remind us. And this is why we do even these episodes, to remind us what you already know, to stimulate that knowing within yourself, and to see that you're not the only crazy one. Because we're not crazy by any means. The world would like to think so, or like to project it that way, but we're not crazy, but we're basically attentive and aware and becoming more conscious of ourselves and how we design every aspect of it. So in essence, to connect and remind us, hey, we're a team all over the world moving forward and unpacking this new world. So when you're doing that, when you're connecting with a tribe, it's not through fear and survival. A lot of times people say, well, we got to come together to support ourselves because, hey, you know, if we don't do that, we're not going to survive. We're going to suffer and die or anything of that nature. It's not about that. You're connecting with a tribe that are forward creators, that are using their imagination, that are collaborating and cooperating and creating a flourishing environment rather than a survival environment. So it's not a group of coming together so we can grow food together or whatever it is. You know, if you feel to share that, that's great, but not from survival, but just creating an environment of flourishing as things are going through the dissolving and recreation as we go along in a new form. So you're connecting with a tribe, but not through fear and survival, but through a flourishing environment. And most of all, being yourself. Kimberly talks about this all the time, being yourself. Why? Being yourself is that true essence of yourself. And I know a lot of us are still figuring that out. We're trying to discover more who you are. Yes, you are that source. Yes, you are that creator, that creation, the observer creation. But who are you? You're an individualized expression within the beautiful dance of the environment you chose to come and play. So you're discovering your gifts, your skill sets, your offerings, your essence, your frequency, your way of contributing and participating and expressing. So many of us have adopted the idea that in one way or another that we have to be the version that the world has been projecting, or that our family's been projecting, or our religion, or our community, or culture, or color of our skin, or anything of that nature, that we need to look this way, we need to act this way, this is who we are, and being that part of it. Many of us have taken roles and saying, well, I'm such and I do such and such, or anything of that nature. But that's not being yourself. Yourself is that unique being that you are, that does not have labels, that it's fluid, it's expansive, because it's always expanding. It's always discovering deeper and deeper and more expressions. So being yourself. So you're no longer adopting or molding yourself to others. You're just basically being you in a very powerful way and expressing it in that powerful way, without being conditioned any longer or holding on to those older conditions. I am this, I am that, I am this career, this role player, or anything of that nature. You can recognize and say, yeah, these are the roles I've played. I can choose to play any part of it, but you're no longer labeled and defined as that. You're being the true you. Many of us have got caught up in the idea of playing different versions of ourselves, and guess what ends up happening? You kind of lose who being yourself is altogether. So the choice you got to make right now, the choice for you is to live through the programmed you. That is the old you, the part of you that got programmed by the inverted matrix, inverted world, and all that is still projected right now from the older collective. So you either the version of you that is programmed a certain way to think, to respond, to see, to interact, to feel, and how to basically see the world around you. So you're either, your choice is to live through that programmed you, which you've all been doing for so long, or you be your own reprogrammer of the new you. Yes, we operate on programs, but the programs is an open platform program. So you say, okay, I'm now going to program myself and reprogram myself over and over again to express ways of expanded version of myself, rather than playing that old version that I've played up to this point in time. That's the choice you have. This is the choice you're making to yourself. Either the programmed me or my own reprogrammer of the new you. How many of you are discovering this new you and unpacking this new you, starting to create realities of this new you, living this new you? How many of you are doing that? Many of you feel very powerfully to do that from this moment. Why are you doing it? Because you're ready for it. That's the beauty of it. So it may not make sense to the mind right now, but many of you, it does make sense. But there is more in the works within you and around you. Many of us feel that the only way to make changes is that we have to have a mechanics, a sequence. It has to be done physically. It has to have a timeline that is required for all these changes to take place, for this new world to unpack. That there is a breaking down or a collapsing or a removal of so-called fictional authorities and so forth, or at the authorities to get online or anything of that nature before we can start to experience this new world. But it doesn't work that way, because that is the idea that we've adopted. We create from a very powerful essence of ourselves. We have many brother sister souls on the playground, within you, and also around you, that is working on the back end, that is already creating new uploads or downloads at this point, re-encodements of ourselves, reactivations of ourselves, reconnections of ourselves, that are already streaming this new world, which is already changing every part of it. We also have Gaia of service. We have nature of service. We have the inner planet that is of service. Our solar system, specifically our sun, and also the planets within the solar system. Our galaxy that's being of service. Our beautiful brother sister souls that are directly involved with us and are making themselves available and have been assisting us. So there's so much on the back end, but then there's so much on the back end that you are doing. You're doing from an unconscious state, or what we call a superconscious state. You're doing it in your dream state. Some of you are not remembering it, but you're already going in and reprogramming and making a lot of changes that you may not be seeing immediately on the surface, but is already restructuring the surface. Many of you have gone through a lot of changes and are going through more and more changes, but that's stuff that you are doing on the back end and also doing. So just seeing that those changes that are on the back end is also changing the way you see the world, how you're expressing the world, how your reality is shaping around you. That's all happening at the same time. So there's so much more than just saying, okay, well, I got to look at the world and see. There's so much around you, within you, that's taking place constantly. It's not outside of you at this point in time. So there's so much in the works. And there are many souls here, multidimensional souls, like we all are at this point in time, especially taking an active role, that have come very well tuned and have taken on particular specific jobs if you want to call it that, particular roles, particular back-end work to be able to unpack this new expression of our planet. So bringing back our true design in all its upgrades, to bring in the human experience in its truest form and truest blueprint with all the upgrades within it. So there's many. So as you know, there have been indigos that have come in, crystal kids that have come in, rainbow kids that have come in, Blu-ray kids that have come in. There's, you know, what we can call advanced souls, or souls that have already prepared themselves, like star seeds and things of that nature, that are coming from other planets, that have been encoded to play a very particular role here at this point in time. All of it is all happening and working hand in hand to move things. So it's not just what you see on the surface, there's a lot more to it. Okay. Okay, so we're going to take a quick look at the difference between frequency and vibration. That was a question that somebody sent through a little while ago, and I think it was on the last episode that we didn't get to play. And what's the difference between frequency and vibration? So since Kimberly's the expert here, she's going to come up and speak that. No? Come on, you can do this. All right, so what's the difference? Well, frequency is your specific frequency. We all come with a very specific frequency. It is like your signature. Your frequency is what you express as a physical form, but as also an essence of sourceness. Okay? So you all come in with a specific frequency, signature expression. Now, you may not have been utilizing the full frequency, but you carry that frequency. That frequency is becoming more active in the sense that it is becoming more of an active role. So in regards to that, I'll put the other one in there. So frequency has information and access and access. So what does it do? It has information of your purpose to be here, or at least the intent of that purpose, which is always expanding anyways. Within that frequency, you carry a very specific frequency that enhances the playground and others you interact with, and also your reality. Now, is it fixed? It's not. But it doesn't change that easily. Your frequency will enhance, that channel will enhance when you're ready for another phase of experience, or another phase of your role playing. So it can shift, but it's like changing the channel because you're now projecting a different world. You're taking a different role in the playground, in your expression. That frequency is another level of frequency that is the expression of sourceness. Now, as you go through the stages, you can increase your frequency. So you're accessing higher realms of information. So you're getting more information of your sourceness, and you're having more access to not only consciousness, but also higher access of your creator ability in more of its pure form. Now you use vibrations is your creation point. Your vibrations create. So as your vibrations increase, your creations increase. It fine-tunes. This is why people say, pay attention to your vibration, because you're going to see, what do they call it, attraction or whatever it is. It's not really attraction, but you're actually in that vibration, you're creating an alignment, and you're tuning into that movie, because movies exist in different vibrations, depending on your vibration. Now, your vibration can go up and down. You have a reaction of sorts that lowers your vibration, say an emotional charge or an old program or have an old pattern, will adjust your vibration. And since your vibration lowers, your creation point changes. That means what you see as a way of life, how you see your reality, how you interact with others will change. Your vibration will also determine your playmates and what playmates will play for you. You will see a version of a playmate, because all playmates, every version of us has a version. You have a version. So you may be in a certain frequency, but your vibration will express a certain version of you. You can look at an old version of yourself of when you used to be terrified of something or got caught up in some play game of some sort and expressed yourself and experienced that way. That's an old version of yourself. So as your vibration changes, depending on your emotional state, your triggers, your old patterns, you're using a different creation point, and it changes the version of you and the versions of playmates and the version of your reality. You will notice that your reality will change depending on your vibration. As your vibration changes, the density of your reality will match it. The playmates' version, or the versions of those playmates, will come and play with you. So if you're in fear state, you're going to have playmates that represent that fear state, that are aligning with that fear state. So you can have a nice little gathering of playing in the fear, playing in the complainer, playing in the victim role, or playmates that are victimizers. You can play in anything. Playmates that are playing in low vibration, or what we can call darkness, densities, lack of consciousness, or whatever it is, and so forth. That's all governed by vibration. And your vibration will go up and down. You can feel vibrations. By walking into a room, going somewhere, you feel the vibration of the collective in that area, that reality of there. You can raise your vibration or be in a higher vibration, and you'll see that either they disperse or you shift the whole vibration there, and you see the version that matches that vibration in that same playground. Because you can have the same person, or it looks like the same person, and you can bring forth a higher version of themselves. So the frequency is your frequency, your very unique, specific frequency that some of us have come with one frequency and maintained that. Others have come in with different frequencies and have chosen to upgrade those frequencies at different stages. Now, a lot of times what ends up happening is if one soul, multidimensional soul, leaves and another multidimensional soul steps in, then he will alter the frequency, the channel. And this is why they a lot of times will feel very different and will emanate a different frequency. It's like a different channel of that person, and they will seem somewhat different to you. Even though you may hold on to an old version of them, you will see that there is another version of them that's being expressed because of that frequency. Because once that frequency changes, the information it accesses is going to change, and it's also going to change the range of the vibration. Because some of these frequencies will have a range of frequency that it will access. Range. Vibration, not frequency. So it'll have a range. It won't go below this, and this may have a temporary limit, but can go higher up depending. But it will not go lower. So depending on that frequency. So at times a soul will come in as a drop-in, and then it will raise this up, say here, because it won't go as low, but also range a higher range above that. So it's now creating a new range, an expanded range. So this will be the new one. Now, all multidimensional souls, all human entities and bodies have the option to activate a higher frequency if it serves. But many may not, and they just work with vibrations. And vibrations are also governed, we have to understand, vibrations are governed by programs, perceptions, belief systems, patterns, defaults, and so forth that we adopted as a way of life, that we have been conditioned, and that is what most of what people call the control structure focuses on, is altering your vibration so that you actually create in that vibrational frequency or that vibrational state. It knows that it can't alter this too much, but the more you access this frequency in a clearer form, it will change that vibration. So it will upgrade that. So hopefully that's clear enough on what we mean by the difference between frequency and vibration. Okay. Let's take this out. So we clean the slate. All right. So is there any questions around that, or that you want to throw in there, the difference between the vibration and frequency? Is it clear as mud, or is it clear as day?
I thought you did a very fine job there.
Okay.
It was quite clear. No, it was good.
Okay. All right. So the next part, questions and answers, if there are any. I think there was one I forwarded it to you.
Yep.
Yep. And then I don't know if there was any others. I'm not going to be spending as much time on it today, but
Okay. We'll have a few, and we'll just do these ones.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll start with the vaccine questions because there's 3 of them. Or, yeah.
We're still on vaccines?
I know.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Well, one of them was the one you sent me.
Yes, that one I knew, yes.
Okay. All right, so first one. How can we get around the V? They're pushing children here in Ireland as young as 5, making all new rules. It's hard. It's a hard one to try and get over.
Right. Watch today's episode a few times. That's how you get around it. Because, watch today's episode a few times, and that's how you get around it. Today's episode was for that, not for the V, for example, but I'm just saying for a lot of things, it's either we give power to what's existing right now. It doesn't matter if they're pushing it or not. First of all, you don't want to have fear. You don't want to have polarization around that. But at the same time, from an innate consciousness of yourself, your own knowing, you make the choice. I am not choosing to participate. I'm not choosing to be what people call medicalized or anything like that, robotized or whatever the names that they've given it. But I'm not choosing to participate in that, experimental, whatever you want to call it. So it's staying rock solid within yourself. Don't see yourself as a victim and don't see anybody else as a victim, because everybody has the freedom. If you choose, definitely, not through fear or the fact that it's going to harm you, but as a free choice, I am not participating because it's not in resonance, and I do not want to introduce something in my body or even in my children's bodies at this point in time. So the children at this point in time, you can share it with them, let them know that this is, as much as whatever they're saying is a certain way, but it's a choice that you guys make. If you have to find an alternative way to get around it, do so. But the choice is ultimately in you, and you have the power to make it happen or not at this point in time, meaning is it introduced or is it becoming part of it? It doesn't matter if they're saying there's going to be a passport or there's going to be accessibility to that. If you can't get accessibility, find a way around it. There's going to be a way around it. Now, for the people that have taken it on at one point or another, at this point in time, it's up to each individual how they choose to activate it or not, how they use it or not in their experience, because you're ultimately the one that's going to be unpacking how you experience it. Right now there is not an option available for you to turn it on and off, but you have the freedom how to express it, experience it within yourself. But at some point down the road, once it's served the ones that need to serve it in that way, there is the discussion that there will be something that will be introduced to turn it off completely. But again, if you're making the choice, well, I got to do it because I need to, I need to make an income, or I got to do that, then you're kind of going in the victim state, or you're going in the disempowered state. But if you make the choice not to have it govern you, then it may play it a little bit different at first, but it will unfold in a way. Because as we continue to roll around, as these energies, and especially in the next 18 months, there's going to be a lot more refinement going on. So a lot of the stuff that seems like it's so impactful will change along the way, because that's what we're doing collectively.
Does that apply us? Well, I'm just asking, as this question just came up from a family member. So there's young people wanting to go to university in the fall, and they're being coerced, I would say,
Yeah.
to be vaccinated to come. I don't know, because I don't think they can mandate it for them to be able to attend school, but what would you say to that?
Well, it's up to the individual there. So if the individual is going to give it a lot of power in the sense of saying, okay, I need this to go there, then you're giving power to the system and so forth. So you may have a particular experience, but you're going to say, I'm going to go to university and I'm going to find my way around this, but I'm not choosing to be V'd to do so. Then, as long as you're very clear, and then you realize, and this is why I was saying repeat today's episode, realizing that you are the designer of your reality. And in my reality, I'm going to go to university because I choose to. Now, in some cases, some people will not be able to for whatever reason, or wherever they are. They may have to relocate, or the fact that in some way or another, it was never meant for them. Because if it's meant for them to go to university because of the fact that it's going to benefit them, but at the same time, they don't want to have the V, then a solution will come about, or some other loophole or something of that nature. Right now, there's a lot of things being challenged and breaking down because of it, so that what looks very imposing right now can change and has the very high potentiality of changing along the way. Will it be by fall? Possibly. But at this point in time, stay true to yourself and make that choice. And if there's going to be a delay or something of that nature, then find another way around it where you may get what you need elsewhere.
Okay, next question. Are the actors, non-playing character actor, the main ones getting the job?
Well, the thing is, the non-active ones, yeah, they're getting involved in it for sure. I'm not saying everybody, but a numerous amount of them may choose to do so, and that seems to be the indication. The active ones are usually the ones that are choosing not to at this point, or to give any power to that particular mandate of sorts. Some are on the fence, will dabble in it, and if they need to kick themselves in the ass of sorts, then they will have a negative reaction, so that they will not continue with it and will no longer support it. And then eventually, if they choose to really stick around here, then they will negate it the vibrational frequencies that will be put in. So some of the frequencies that are being streamed at this point in time are not only adjusting our frequency, but are activating our higher frequencies within ourselves. In certain ranges of our frequency, the stuff doesn't have the same effect, and even making the choice to go down that path, you wouldn't do so. Is that clear, or is that you need more clarification around that?
I was
Busy typing. Yes.
Questions.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Okay, so I'll go to the next question. You probably were clear, honey. I'm assuming you would be.
Okay.
Okay. The next question. Could you give your perspective about self-sabotages, which I am realizing now are very insidious and misguiding, even in small actions and decisions of everyday life? What do they come from, and what practical tools can we use to detect and neutralize them?
Okay. Self-sabotage is pretty big, and basically self-sabotage would be program-based, being that you've adopted an idea that in one way or another that there's something wrong with you, that you're not good enough, you're not capable enough, or that the fact that you don't deserve it, or some other stories where you've adopted the idea that you're never going to be able to be a higher aspect of yourself, or something of that nature. There's also self-sabotage that comes in with fear, where you're afraid to progress, to step forward, or to be outside of what the reality that you're in, or outside of the people that you're around. Because sometimes people will create self-sabotage because they don't want to lose their family, or lose their partners or playmates, so that every time they're seeing that they want to take a step forward, they will do something not to move forward. So you want to look at that. So the process I would look at is, if you see a particular self-sabotage, write that out on a piece of paper, a big piece of paper if you can. This is my self-sabotage. I stop myself, or I binge, or I do this, or I take certain substances, or whatever it is. And then you can ask yourself, okay, what is my reasoning for that? What makes me uncomfortable enough to be able to do this where I need to self-sabotage? You want to look at the story, the belief system, the perception that you've adopted at some point, or some ongoing idea that is still active within yourself, that the self-sabotage is assisting you with. And when I say assisting you with, is allowing you not to move forward. That could be an illness, that could be an addiction, that can be where an opportunity is provided and you will do something to not make it happen. You may not respond, you may not take action. If there's a time sequence to take action, that you may procrastinate or something like that. You want to look at the reason. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? What am I uncomfortable about moving forward? Now, the other thing you can do is, say you want to take a certain action, and say, okay, I want to go back to school, for example. I'm just giving you an example. And then you'll self-sabotage yourself from taking the action. So you say, okay, if I go to school, what are my benefits, and what do I see as a potential issue? Sometimes it could be, if I go to school, I won't have a reason to stay in my old world, or that in some way, if I do this or that, you want to see your benefits and your negatives, or these are all perception, of course, and you want to write that out and then look at it. Because when you start looking at it and you get a clear picture of what is playing out and what the story and so forth, then you can choose to say, okay, do I want to continue to feed this story? Do I want to continue to make it my navigator or something of that nature, or am I done with it? Now, when you say done, you want to be done because it no longer serves, not because you have a judgment about it, that, oh, this is horrible and I don't want to do this anymore. Sometimes people say, well, you need that to make us move forward. It doesn't really work as effectively. Yes, I can't say it doesn't, work for you, but it's not as effective. So the point is, you want to get to an understanding that does it serve or not serve. If it doesn't serve, and say, okay, it doesn't serve me anymore. Am I ready to let it go? Yeah, I'm ready to let it go. I have no judgment about it. And you acknowledge it, thank it, and when you're saying your thank you, you're appreciating everything that it's provided for you at this point in time. And I know it's so easy, the judgment, because the ego loves it, where, you know, oh, it did this to me, it did that to me, whatever it is, and you may have a lot of judgment around it, but go beyond that. So appreciate it for what it's provided you, even the restrictions and the limitation, because without it you couldn't have. And then blast it with love, thank it with love, and then let it free. So use that type of tool, but you want to look at it, because if you try to do it in your mind, it doesn't work as well. So you want to look at it and say, okay, this is, I had this opportunity and I let the time slide. What was my story? What do I feel about it? If I did follow through, what was my concern? Or when that gives you a clearer idea, and then you can decide what you want to do with that. Does it serve or not serve? Do I still want to give it power or not? And then go from there.
Next question. Hold on, just putting the time. Will the majority of people who took the V die?
The majority that has taken the V will have an option to do several things. Yes, check out. They have the option to play very intense roles to wake up others and then possibly check out. They can have intense roles, play out an intense role or reaction and so forth, and then negate it, turn it off. So it's really up to each individual that makes that choice of what it wants to do. And well, definitely you create an opening much clearer in a bigger doorway to use it as an exit. But it's still up to you if you choose to use it or not. You can cross back and forth, you can do whatever, but it's still a choice that you will make. Is it 100%? No. Is a bigger opening to do so? Yes. But it's up to the individual. But many are choosing to use it as a way out too. There is a good portion of people on the planet that have already made the choice, not only by V, by any other manner, to not participate long-term on the journey as we go through these transformations. So we kind of let it be.
Okay, next question. I love to drum, of which is quite aggressive instrument, yet I'm a gentle person. Is that a contradiction?
Sound is sound. You can be drumming intensely because of passion, of really emanating that frequency or that vibration. Well, because you can use sound for a lot of things. If you're being aggressive on the drums because of frustration, yeah, you're expressing that, but you also want to shift it gently into creation and have passion coming through, which is transformative rather than a frustration. Because even if the beats are about the same, it's going to be projected slightly different between, or a big difference between frustration and expression, frustration and what was the other word I was going to say? I lost the word. Anyways, of expressing that creative frequency or to assist or to be brought into the field. So you have to pay attention to why you're being intensive. Is it just because it's flowing through you, or is there frustration or something of that nature that you're putting that energy into when you're playing the drums?
Okay. Next question, I'm putting two questions together because they're kind of similar. Is there a way to access knowing your frequency? How do we tune into our frequency to raise our vibration?
Okay, vibration is up to you, how you use it. Your frequency will change as you're done doing what you've been doing. So what does that mean? That means that if you're not playing the old world anymore, as you're going into more and more of that new world, you can get to a point where your frequency will adjust to a higher octave and go to a higher level where you're accessing even more and expressing even more powerfully than you were before. Your vibration is basically focused on where your focus is and how you're emotionally internalizing and expressing those vibrations. So if you're feeling fear, that's a very low vibration, and you create things that match that vibration. So for you to create a low vibrational expression, you're utilizing very minimal amount of your frequency. Or do you have a lot of programs that relate to that older vibration? What's that?
It's better. It's there.
Okay. Just checking the audio.
I don't know if it's my computer because
Is your computer? Okay.
I think it's okay.
All right.
Keep talking.
I'm seeing everything is still fluctuating okay here with the the sound meter.
My computer doing something weird.
Okay. What was I saying? Yes. So your vibration will alter depending on where you put in your focus and what your emotional charges are being triggered and so forth. So like I said, if you're in fear, your vibration drops, you're connecting to everything that matches that vibration, and you're creating from that vibration. So you're adding to your reality creation from that vibration. When you're in lower vibration, you're using very minimal amount of your true frequency. And that can get easily involved by programs and so forth. So if you have a lot of programs that actually access lower frequency, a lower vibration, then you're going to see the world from that lower vibrational part. And so as much as your frequency doesn't alter you, you can utilize a very minimal amount of your frequency or a higher level of frequency. When you're using more of your higher frequency and range, then you can get to a point where your vibrations are reflecting back from that higher vibration, and your frequency is ready to go to the next level. Then you will activate the next level of frequency. A lot of us are being coded to use higher frequencies, but until you're maintaining a higher frequency all the time, using the highest amount of consciousness and states of knowing and access points, then your frequency can go up. You're basically dialing up to a higher frequency, and your vibrations, of course, will go even higher than that.
Okay, next question. Do any vows, i.e. Poverty, celibacy, you made in previous lifetimes affect frequency and vibration in this lifetime? And how do we overcome this?
Yes, if you made a vow to for poverty and what was the other one? Celibacy and so forth. That was your entry point. You brought it in. It no longer has to be valid. We've already made the agreement that none of it is valid. As of 1987, we have the freedom to negate every part of it. We made another level in 2012, going into 2013 really, and then again in 2020. So basically, at this point in time, you can recognize, acknowledge that there was a vow that was made from previous lives or from an earlier part of your life, but now it doesn't have to. So you can negate it. You say, okay, I now negate, neutralize, clear any vow of poverty, of celibacy, or anything of that nature. And I open myself to full freedom to express and experience in any which way I choose. So it's not, and there's no karma, There hasn't been any karma that we had to work through since the 1987. Okay, we've carried the idea and we've continued to support it in the inverted matrix that karma was active. I did talk about karma in one of my podcasts, and I think I've talked about karma in some of my other episodes, earlier episodes anyways. But no, we don't have any of that active, and we don't have to support any of it any longer. So you can negate any of it. You can clear any contracts too. Any contracts you made with other people, contracts that you've made in your entry point, that you still feel that you have a contract to play a particular role, or to restrict yourself, or to engage with certain people, or have certain relationships and stuff like that. Even if you made it not even that long ago, you can review any part of it. If it serves, that's great. If not, you can clear it out. If it involves a particular individual, have a discussion with them and say, listen, I agreed to play a role with you, and we made a contract, but I find that this contract doesn't serve me any longer, so I want to negate it, and I want to clear out the contract, make a new agreement to create whatever is required to unravel yourself from that contract. And agreements.
Okie dokie. Next question for you, Mr. Mr. D. Nicola. What does your imagination show you when you see New Earth? What are some of the things you're creating?
Well, for me, I've been seeing this new world within myself for quite some time. You know, when I look at the world, I see a world without any borders. I see where everybody is honoring and respecting each other. I see the world in a way where we are completely free. We're no longer in a situation where we have to survive, first of all. Second of all, that we have no lack. Third of all, that there's no ownership or control or dominance of one another. We see each other as beautiful expressions. We connect with each other. We don't have to kill. We are not killing each other or anything like that. We're supporting each other to bring the highest version of ourselves out and to be expressed. Creating unnecessary protocols and work and whatever else that we've been playing with up to this point in time. Not having attachments to people, scenarios, situations. Having a beautiful environment that nurtures us, very clean, using highest advanced technologies, and not being in total reliance of technologies, but technologies advancing us in one way or another, creating freedom for us in a way or another. I've seen the world, the environment where it's very clear, clean, that we see it in its natural state, where we're not manipulating the weather, we're not manipulating any part of it. I also see in my world that our brother, sister souls from other planets are making themselves more present with us, feeling that collaborative engagement with them, seeing them coming and going and visiting and so forth. Also seeing that, you know, we get to be not only ourselves, but at the same time we're not tied to any particular individuals. That is a choice that we make very freely, and that includes children and things of that nature. I also see a world where we don't end up being ill, aging, deteriorating. We have the opportunity to express and experience ourselves in physical form for thousands of years. We can come and go in the sense of, say, even our multidimensional, so that another multidimensional can come in, but the bodies can continue to flourish, including the human entity, where it doesn't have to embody. No differences in the sense of, say, race, color of skin, of our, you know, our, what do you call it? Genders and so forth, where we honor the gender, but we're not categorizing or anything of that nature. We're very balanced and harmonized. So I see a world of that nature, a world where we are free to play and express and experience without putting in time, suffering, putting power into earning or anything of that nature. There's no monetary systems. If there's any medical system, which basically will be very minimal, if any at all, through the transitional period, it will be totally tuned to bring the highest expressions in form, in ease, and so forth. But the thing is, we're our own designer of our bodies, so our bodies will really basically express always flourishing health, if you want to call it that, a higher level of our human expression and experience. Our playground, like for example, the other thing I see in my world is that the animal kingdom blends with us, so that there is no more food chain, there's no more requirement, that we have to protect ourselves from the environment because the environment will match with us, that we don't have to create fake personas of ourselves, we don't have to be conditioned and programmed, we're just being a pure expression. There's no requirement of eating, but we have the opportunity to enjoy fruits and things of that nature, because our body can have an intimate connection with that. So I see all of that. There's actually more than that that I see. We have also the capacities where we can teleport from place to place without having all of this so-called vehicles of airplanes, jets, or cars, or anything of that nature. We will have transitions where we will have technologies that will transport us, but as we go along, we can see ourselves where we want to see ourselves, and have the beautiful expressions of moving freely without passports or borders and rulers and so forth. There will be some councils that will kind of oversee and make sure that we are working together to create an equal environment for everyone, but eventually that will not even be there anymore. So I know when I shared some of this, and again, I'm just giving you a taste of it right now, just to give you a little small feel of that, because you can tune into it, because a lot of this of what I'm sharing, you feel it inside of you, because it's the same thing that's within you. People found that was an utopia that could not exist in the human nature. Our human nature is not what we've been expressing and experiencing up to this point in time. Sometimes people say human nature is taking advantage of other people, want to harm other people, want to take away from other people. That's not our human nature. That's programmed, conditioned in that inverted matrix and so forth. That's not who we are. So we won't reflect any of that. And the same thing with the insect world. A lot of the insects will not be here that are not supportive. The ones that are supportive will no longer be, pests to us. It will be all harmonious. We can go with or without clothes. You can sleep in the forest. You don't have to worry about the reptiles or any other animal kingdom infringing on you, but just to mingle and beautifully express and experience with one another at this point in time. This whole vanity and all of these personified ideas of ourselves will no longer be in that state. So that's just giving you a little bit of a taste. I mean, it goes even further than that, but that's kind of a taste of it.
Thanks, honey. That was good. Okay, last question.
Okay.
I went to a meditation retreat, and then I was fired from my 100K job day after it ended. What happened?
Oh man, you shouldn't have gone. Big mistake. I'm only teasing, so don't take me seriously. Well, what you did at that point in time is you changed. You went through a process where you activated your higher frequency of yourself, so you changed the channel. Your vibration altered, and now you're a mismatch. So at that point, you got fired because you didn't match that any longer. You're now going into a different movie. So at this point in time, saying, okay, what feels most natural for me, and work towards looking at something that aligns with that. So this is what's happening to many of us. We're finding either we can no longer relate with the job or career, And some people have invested on many years and many resources to get to that career and then find that they don't match there anymore. You're going to find that you'll be pushed out of a particular environment because you've changed and there's no longer a match. So at this point in time, instead of going into fear, say, okay, I'm going to go into flourish. Let me create something. Let me tune into something that will match where I am now. I choose to. So spend the time to continue with the meditation with yourself, because that will become more clear, the new direction for you. Okay?
Sorry.
So that's really what happened. You changed and no longer a match.
I'm just looking on my Facebook page. My computer's acting up a lot, so I may have missed some questions on there. Just checking to see. Because I was stuck somewhere. Whoa, I missed a lot. Okay.
You missed a lot of questions?
Well, not a lot of questions, just a lot of comments.
Okay.
So just give me a second here while I just scroll down quickly.
Okay.
Here's a question.
Mhm.
Is it hindering to offer balancing service, e.g., Rahanni Celestial healing to those struggling at present?
If you're going to offer any services, what you want to offer is something that will help someone connect with that vibration, because sometimes people cannot access that vibration or even the frequency that would create an alteration. So you can help them with the process if they're feeling guided to do so. So what you're doing is you're basically introducing them to another access point within themselves. You're not doing it for them, you're assisting them to be able to get to that vibration and also accessing a fuller spectrum of their frequency. Because that's what happens, is sometimes we're saying we're changing our frequency, but we're only accessing more of our frequency, because a lot of times we're not accessing the full frequency. So if you're going to if you're going to work with certain people, just walk them through or assist them to access certain point. And the thing is, see how it, how they respond to it, if it matches for them and so forth. So that's all you're doing at this point. So are you hindering? They were the ones that are going to govern. So if you're going in and saying, oh, I got to fix them, I got to save them, I got to, make their life better, then that can be a hindrance. But if you're there of service to help them access something that they're ready to access, or to be able to do something that they're right now feeling that they can't, then that's fine. And that's the service right now, is just really connecting with themselves and with the people that come to or bring some clarity or allow them to look at something that they weren't seeing before. But ultimately, everybody's doing it for themselves.
Okay. Another question here. I noticed all this talk of how intense, how intense the next 18 months will be can often trigger a trauma response, and it's hard to hold both, and that and the creation. And right now I dance back and forth between being a creator and feeling like, oh my God, I'm under this heavy cloud that sinks. I wasn't able to hear the entire episode, which I'll watch later, but anything else you could add?
Well, the thing is, yes, as we're going along, as more and more of these, the frequencies are coming through, the codes are coming through, as the planet is enhancing us and everything else, and with all these really powerful, and including vibrations, powerful energies moving through at this point in time, any old traumas, any old programs, belief systems, and so forth will come up. And it can come up very strongly, only for you to experience it, acknowledge it fully, allow it to see it for what it is. And if you can write it out, please do so, because that is very powerful. What you're feeling, what you're experiencing, because it'll make it easier to get through it. And at that point in time, as you go through the state of great appreciation Appreciate what it's making you feel like, what it provided you at that time, what it's providing you right now, even if it's very polarized, very traumatic, very intense. Be in complete appreciation, because this is just an experience. Yes, the mind can make it overwhelming, being the ego. And it can feel like, it's intense. But allow yourself to experience it, write it out, what it means and so forth. Go through, like, acknowledging it. If there's emotional charges, give yourself the opportunity to feel it. Do not resist it. Do not express it. Just be present with it. Feel it. Feel it, accentuate it if it comes up that way. And then as that's happening, it's being expressed, you'll notice it'll shift. Then look at what the story behind it is. Acknowledge the story. Thank the story. Thank all the experiences that came with it. If there's other people involved, be in thankfulness for them. Thank them for the roles that they played. Thank them for every part of it. And then go into a state of love. You are pure love. So extend love to the experience. Extend love to the trauma, whatever that may have been. And it starts to dissolve. Because basically what you're doing is putting it back into its pure essence of just pure source essence. It's going into the field, really, what's going on. And the field is all around us. So use that, and I did talk about it a little bit more in the earlier part of the episode, so yes, if you can watch it, that'll help. The other part is, once you've gone through all that and that's cleared out, then as much as possible, go into that creative mode. Connect with yourself, go into that meditative, quiet part of yourself, and start envisioning that world. Start to feel what it feels like. Feeling is very powerful. I'm not talking about emotional feeling, because there might be some emotion that will enhance it. That's fine. But feel how it feels. The freedom, the excitement, the passion behind it, whatever it is. And write it all out, because the more you write it out. So you can envision it and then map it out, write it out afterwards. And then refer to it time to time, and then go back into it and envision it even further. Because what you're doing, you're starting to shape the reality. You're giving new instructions to the matrix that is fine-tuned to your particular experience, but also in the collective experience. There's different levels of collective, of course, but it starts to respond back to you at that point, because the matrix is what gives us what looks like the human experience on the what looks like a playground of sort. So do it that way. I know it can be overwhelming, but play with it. If you do it in that fashion where you allow it to come out, write it out loud, look at the story program behind it, go into it, acknowledge, thank it, love it, and then you can go into the creative part. It will become balanced, and eventually the whole focus will go one way. Go ahead.
I think we're going to end here, because
sure,
we're going into overtime
okay.
now.
If there's any other questions, just
couple
save
more
it.
questions, and we'll save them for next week.
Okay. Are they quickies? No.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll save it for next week.
Okay, so we'll play with it next Tuesday. We should be back at 4 o'clock next Tuesday, as
Some
intended.
changes.
Unless something changes. We have to flow with things, because there's always a reason why things go one way or another, and so forth. So, all good. Thank you for co-creating this opportunity, for being part of all of this, for being open to receive and to expand yourself accordingly. Please share this content to as many people as possible. If you're very new to it, please, if you're on YouTube, subscribe and click the notification bell. You can add your comments and so forth, the likes and dislikes, whatever feels most resonant with you. There's many episodes. As you know, there's today's episode 82, so of course there's 81 other episodes, but there's actually more than 81 episodes, because some of the episodes actually have multiple parts to it. So there's and you can look at the titles and the description, and it gives you an idea what's there as content. This is all there, and it's very supportive for you to trigger your own memory, to kind of put you on track with yourself, to be able to move forward. We thank everybody that is, has provided donations or contributions to assist us in the work we're doing. We welcome contributions. We'd like to stay focused on this. We're also going to be putting out even more content very soon, and we're getting back onto the podcast on a more regular basis. And anyways, so until next time, go out and play, have a blast, and use these tools that are provided in these episodes to kind of reinforce you as the journey goes on. So thank you.